anything is possible. And you're evidence of it right now. I remember when I had the first conversation about UATX, which was at a dinner party when one of the founders said to me, I'm thinking about creating a university in Austin. And I kind of smiled and I was like, go on, right? And now here you are. And so anything is possible. If anybody who is I don't know, rational or objective would say, don't do this, don't create a university, right? But here you are. My name is Graham Frey. I help people start, scale, and fix schools. And today I picked Mortimer J. Adler's 6th Grade Ideas. I was first introduced to 6th Grade Ideas as a young high school student. It opened up this concept that philosophy is everybody's business. Hey, my name is Graham Frey, and I have spent the majority of my career helping people start, scale, and fix schools, which is kind of a niche-y thing. But if you think about it, I've been an educator for most of my life, but more of an alternative educator. So I work in a space of startup schools. All of you are part of a startup university, which is something that is near and dear to my heart. I haven't spent a lot of time working in higher education, but I've spent a bunch of time working in the K-2 through 12 space, and I'm really supportive of the UATX endeavor and super proud to be sitting at this table. It's my privilege to be here with all of you, thinking about the big ideas that you're faced with as you travel through this incredible journey, and sharing one of my favorite books that helped me through my journey. So thank you. Today I wanted to share a book called 6th Grade Ideas by Mortimer J. Adler with you all and discuss it a little bit. It was passed to me by one of my teachers, a man by the name of Rick Hawley, who was one of the foremost educators of boys. I went to an all boys school. And one of the neat things about the school that I went to is that we had a lot of programming that is similar to the type of programming that I imagine you have at UATX. We had the ability to do independent studies, and we had the ability to pursue knowledge deeply, which was important to me. I didn't know much about philosophy, and 6th Grade Ideas was my first avenue to understanding what it was. And the basic premise is that philosophy is everybody's business. Now, when I first read that, I truly didn't understand, because I thought of philosophy being this separate thing that is either a class or it's somebody in a room or a special club, that people who only are interested in philosophy. But the reality is that all of us interact with philosophy every day. And he creates a long list of what he calls great ideas, and then comes up with 6 that he addresses specifically in the book. Those are things like truth and goodness and liberty, equality, beauty, and justice. What was fascinating to me as a young person reading this was the framework that he created and how that led me to reading other things. So beauty is an example. In many cases, when we think of beauty, we think of it being in the eye of the beholder. You've probably all heard that, right? That it's completely subjective. But Adler pushes in a different direction. He actually thinks that beauty requires intellectual inquiry, right? That it takes emotional engagement, and that there are things that are not beautiful because they don't match the particular requirements of what beauty means. Truth, of course. Many of you have probably spent some time with Plato, I would imagine, at this point in time in the process, right? And so, Plato's world of forms and how he thinks about truth, right? That truth is something that transcends our own societal values and our own personal values, right? That we're aspiring to a greater truth is something that he tackles in here. But he does it in really simple language. And for me, as a young person, that opened up this thought process that, wait a second, I'm a philosopher too, and I can think deeply about some of these things. When most people first look at the book and you think about something like goodness, we all have preconceived notions of what goodness really means, right? Or what equality means. Adler thinks about equality not as sameness, right? But as more of an opportunity, right? Different types of equality. And so that, to me, was the reason that this book really changed the way I started to pick new books, the way I thought about school, the way I spent my time I then followed into reading a number of books written by Plato. I also did a independent study in political philosophy my senior year, simply based on what I had learned here and how this drove me into understanding social contracts and trying to figure out what justice was. It certainly shaped my desire to be a philosophy major in college. And that all led me back to education, where I spend most of my time, and thinking about how do we create these frameworks and these models that can transcend the societal norms or our personal thoughts. So I'm excited to share and chat about this book with you, and maybe you all read it. Maybe you'll read one of Adler's other books, along the way.